I used to be scared of snakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got a snake and I raised it from a baby up.
Mm.
Because I decided, you know, when there's a problem, I'm about to find out why there is a problem. Where did that come from? Like, where did that originate?
Yeah, you tackle it head on.
Head on.
Head
I mean,
on.
there's no other way.
Yeah. You don't skirt around and like look at it sideways.
I got no time for that. I don't know how long
I
I'll be
got
here.
time for that. I got 4 kids. I don't have time for that. Welcome everyone to another episode of Leading with Audacious Confidence. And I am here with my beautiful guest, Tonya McKenzie. Not just beautiful, but beautiful, powerful, intelligent leader, amazing leader. So let me tell you a little bit about Tanya. As the founder of Sand and Shores, Tonya McKenzie brings more than 20 years of experience in public relations, leadership, marketing, and client relations. Her nonprofit experience includes being an associate executive director, raising over $1 million to open a new YMCA in Northern California, serving as the first Black elected director of the Oakley Chamber of Commerce, being appointed to the Youth Council for Contra Costa County by Supervisor Federal Glover, the first African-American woman to be elected to the Redondo Beach Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and the first African-American to be elected as the president of the North Redondo Beach Business Association. Tanya chartered a graduate chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Inc. in Northern California, currently holds a seat on the Redondo Beach Police Department Engagement Board, Vice President of Black Public Relations Society, LA, and the City of Redondo Beach, GPAC. Tanya was recently elected to the city's Emergency Crisis Council as a result of the COVID pandemic. This alumnus of California State University, Northridge, has 4 amazing children, including a set of twins, and has been married 19 years. You can find Miss McKenzie highlighted in the book, Amazing Moms, Parents of the 21st Century, and in her first memoir, A Child's Memories of Cartoon and Murder. Dun, dun, dun. It's like, oh my goodness. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you with us today because there's so much to unpack in all of that.
You know, thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here. Love having this conversation. I love your podcast and everything that you're doing. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So I met Tanya in this mastermind sort of group about media. And when I heard her story, I was so like gobsmacked. I'm like, I have to have this further conversation with you. But first I want to ask you, because you've held several positions there in the Redondo Beach area. What is your sort of philosophy on leadership?
It's all about results and getting it done, right? It's also about people acknowledging your audacity. It's not just you having it, it's other people knowing that you have it.
Yeah.
And I kind of picked that up, I guess, as a kid, even growing up, and the same friends I have now would be like, have Tanya do it. She'll do it. Tanya say it. She'll say it. And I've always wondered, like, why y'all always putting me up to something? But at the end of the day, you have to have some kind of appreciation for people being able to see something in you that maybe you don't even see in yourself, right?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And those come from your actions, even though we don't always acknowledge what we're doing or the greatness of what we're doing as women in particular, you know?
Oh, true.
When other people do that, you can't help at some point to sit back and exhale on that moment where you acknowledge someone's always asking me to do something because I get results.
I get it done.
They trust me with the task. Right. Because they can see that with me in the front, it'll get done, right? So, you know, it's happened over time, but it really comes from being able to see what other people see in you and stop fighting it so much. As women, sometimes too, we also don't always take our flowers while we're here. We don't know what to do with them. We're like, oh my God, I was just doing what I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, when others come to say, hey, step back and see all that you have done, you get an appreciation for it when others acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's so true. We do have a habit of just saying, oh, it was nothing, but it was something.
Right.
It really
Something
was
that
something.
something that others can acknowledge that would have been difficult for me to do.
Yeah.
In addition to everything else we probably do during the day.
Yes, especially with 4 children. I can't, and a set of twins. I can't even imagine that. It's amazing. And I know in your bio, you it's not in your bio, but I know from hearing you, you are a survivor of gun violence.
Gun violence, sexual assault twice, and I call it all out generational dysfunction. Because when I look back on it, it's been going on for a while. These types of behaviors and excuses for behaviors that take place in the Black family.
And how has that kind of helped you, being that survivor, helped you in now in your role in business and all these other leadership positions that you're taking?
You know, in my college years, that's when I really recognized and took a step back to take inventory of all that I had accomplished since I was 18. I had over 21 addresses by the time I graduated and went off to college.
Wow.
Right. So I think until my marriage, my college dorm address was probably the most consistent thing in my life. So that lets you know, like, consistency and stability can give you a little clarity. So sometimes when you're all over the place, take a moment to just be still, right? And when I had that time, that isolation, and that dedicated space that was mine, I was able to look back at what I had gone through and gotten to the other side of. So those are the things I kind of reflect back on in leadership and business, because at the end of the day, when you're talking business, the worst someone can do is tell you no. Right? The worst someone can do is tell you no. Now, if you've survived A, B, C, and D, a no, you're gonna be all right.
You're gonna be all right.
Be all right.
So, and a lot of times a no is just a not now. A lot of times it's just because you don't understand the question.
But the other part of it was, I'm going to be very transparent at this moment. I live a very mainstream life, right? And I've worked in various different occupations with various different types of people. And once I wrote my book, I realized that very few people in my life actually knew what I had went through. So the book was an opportunity for others to see what I had gone through. And in business, that also lets me know that I know how to code switch really well. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Being able to acknowledge that you have the ability to chameleon your way through and figure out how to make things work lets you know actually just what you said, which is a no is just for now. But when you have relationships with people, that now can come at any time.
Yeah.
Right. That yes, in the next now, it could come at any time when you have relationships with people, because they get to know, like, and trust you.
Did you have challenges building business relationships?
Absolutely, especially here in I wouldn't say just here, actually, Redondo Beach and in the Bay Area when we moved to Oakley, California, because there isn't a large population of faces that look like mine. What I did realize here, though, my first time really stepping into the community and business side of Redondo was I started a real estate agent magazine, right? And started to try to acclimate into that, the real estate business community, mortgage brokers and things of that nature. And there was a lot of pushback. It was a lot of pushback. I took that almost instinctually, like, oh, they don't like Black people. But getting to know this community, it's more of just fickleness. Like, we need to see what she's bringing to the table. We need to see if she's just here for the finances or if she's here to be a part of this community.
Right.
So they are very community driven, very familiar face driven. So that let me know you need to start putting in the work. This isn't just a grab and go.
Right.
And they're not quick to write checks. They need to get to know you and know that if they needed you, that you'd be around or where to find you. So after about a year or so, really penetrating the community, it opened up. It was like, you know, hey girl, how you doing?
Nice.
You know, you get to know, it's the same as getting to know people though. You know, we have to start, or for those of us that have a difficult time with that, understanding that relationships really make the world go round.
And I just heard from a corporate panel of, I mean, there was Coca-Cola on the panel. They were talking about diverse suppliers, AT&T, Accenture, Lumen, a lot of these Fortune 100 and below companies. And they were talking about that they're people too. You know, when people approach them, I'm a person. Don't just come at me with what you want. Let's build a relationship, build a rapport. Even though I hold this position in this company that can give you an opportunity, I'm just not a hand, you know, it's not like a come with your hand out.
Right.
You're just here for
what
the
can
money.
You do for me?
What can you do for me? Exactly.
What can I
What
get?
business can you get? Right. What can I get from you? And I believe as entrepreneurs, business owners, we really have to step into that relationship role more and more, especially if we're dealing with other corporate or like you're saying, the getting involved in the community, in the Chamber of Commerce and all those things, making those relationships. And that is part of leadership as well.
Yeah, that, but you have to be able to be honest and be authentic to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that.
Because it's the know, like, and trust factor, like you said. You have to allow people to get to know you, to like you, and trust you, and you have to be authentic in order for people to start trusting you with that. And that's what led you to like get on the boards of a lot of these organizations, like the YMCA, where you raised a lot of money for the YMCA, and I'm trying to read through the business, you know, Chamber of Commerce, the board on the board of on the Chamber of Commerce and everything, so that you can build those relationships.
Let me tell you though, that's not how it started. The way it started was acknowledging, okay, I am a habitual complainer. Okay. I will find something wrong with anything. But I will also, I don't know if this is as a Black woman or as a mother, dig in to get it done and get it fixed.
Right. So you're just not a complainer to complain. You're like, this is not happening. Let's see how we can make it work.
And do you need help with that? Because I can, I can direct that ship.
Right.
So it really is a matter of understanding that pointing out a problem is not an issue, especially if you are willing to dig in and help get it done. So in the community in which I live, you know, I take a step back and look around to see what's really going on, what I'm missing, what could be better, especially when you have youth, you have kids, you want things to be better for them than they were for you, not just in your family life, but in the communities that they live in, right?
Yeah.
And just being a habitual complainer, because we all have those around us, whether they're in the companies we work with or we all got friends that are habitual complainers. But if you're not going to fix it, complain about where we're going out to eat, complain about where we go. Well, are you going to suggest something different?
Exactly.
Are you going to offer to drive there because it's a little further than where we talked about? Come on.
Yeah. So it's with a purpose. It's not just, so you see a need. That's it. You see a need and you fill a need, or you see something going off the rails and it's like, you know what, I need to step in and see how we can make this work. But
kind of also what you brought up about business, right? When you said the things that I went through helped me in business, but they also helped me in leadership roles, because for me to have survived many of those things, I had to have people around me that helped and elevated, right? So looking back on my story, I always call them, angels on earth, because they were just being human, not even knowing what I had been through. So people that are just like, hey, how are you doing? Or my mom, for whatever reason, couldn't get me to practice. So my coach that made sure that I always not only got picked up and dropped off, but had something to eat in between. Like, those are just things that good people do, not even knowing how much it may have changed someone's life.
Right.
Yeah. That's really all it comes down to, is wanting to be in a world that's better than we have it.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. And being able to be a contributor to that is a blessing. So it's almost confusing to me when people don't, right? You just all about you and what you and your family, and there's no one else on the planet. Because I
would no more. That's it.
I never understood that. Maybe it has to do a lot with my past, but at the same time, I wish more people were like that. Not saying I wish people have to go through trauma.
No, what you went through, but to see the world in a larger way. Like, we all need each other, and we all need to help each other to get to where we all want to go, and always striving ahead to get better at it.
What's better? What's prettier? What's greener? What air can be better? How can I contribute to that? Even if it's just, we're just going to go clean up our neighborhood today, or we're going to go clean up the school today, or we're going to go clean up the park today. What are you guys doing? You got a couple minutes, couple hours to just contribute. So it never seemed like an issue. It just was like, I know this needs to be better,
done,
and let's do it.
Yeah. And did you find a lot of resistance in becoming, because you were a lot of the first African American or first African American woman to hold some of these roles that you've held? Was it a battle to get there, or because you built those relationships, people saw beyond your gender, your color, and all of those things?
I would say both. When there's always going to be those that assume whatever they assume about you based on your skin color, right? When I was up north in the Bay Area in Oakley, there were people in that town that said, you need to go back to where you came from. I came outside from work one night, and there was a crowbar in my window, and the police wouldn't even come get it out.
Wow.
So I had to damn near threaten to call the news if they didn't come help me, because it was late at night. Where they do that at. But if you're persistent, and if you're fearless enough to be determined enough to get to the end goal, no matter what that is, and you're doing it from an authentic place, eventually they see that, right? So I left that town. I left that town with some very, close relationships that I would not have had I not fought through. But not just fight through, but then deliver, right? I was put in a position to get something done. It got done.
So you proved there was proof in the pudding.
Right. So then you talk about leadership, and I always go back to, are you results driven? And if you can't get the results, do you at least have the effort? Like, you got to have one or the other, mostly both. But you show people that I'm about it. And even if I didn't get there, I tried and I worked really hard, and this is where we are, and I'm still here to help.
Did you ever, in your leadership roles or this could be about you or even a client that you have been coaching through leadership, because you do leadership training as well. Was there ever a time that was like, uh-oh, what am I doing here? I just made a big old boo-boo. It's like, how do I overcome this? Was there ever any of those moments in your life where you were wondering, what was I thinking?
There was a couple, but most recently, I would say having high expectations for other people, because at the end of the day, you can only be responsible for yourself.
Yes.
So, I hired a publicist. Even though I do publicity, I hired a publicist to help me with my book. I expected something from this person,
Right.
and I wound up having to do it myself.
Right.
I got comfortable here in Redondo, and wound up, getting blindsided by people that still don't like this face because of the color of my skin. So I had to get back on alert, like, okay, now I have to continue to stomp forward because they caught me slipping. I was relaxed a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And the hard part is that we don't really have that luxury. We're still fighting for equal rights.
Right.
Right.
Both,
We're still
on two fronts. On two fronts. The color of our skin and the fact
and
that
a woman.
Gender.
Right. So that is one of those things I had to push forward. I had to push back on, and I try not to live in a situation where I'm always defending, who I am and what I've done, who I am, what I've done, and okay, this is what I've done. But I had here in this city some gentlemen that were not too excited about me being here. We're not too excited about this woman that has only been here, this Black woman that has only been here 7 years, and they've been here 30 plus years and haven't been able to do what I've done. So,
and that's the key right there. They haven't been able to do what you have done. So jealousy. Yeah.
So I had to jump back into, okay, now let me go on and show you my credentials real quick mode, right? Let them know. But I don't think it should have to be that way, because you shouldn't assume you know who I am based on the color of my skin. And because I wear a bra. Like that, we have to be clear about this. You are not superior based on your skin color or your gender.
Absolutely.
And
you have to call it out.
I forgot that there are still people out there because I got really comfortable being around good people that work hard. And then I forgot about the nemesis. So back on offense, always putting it out there, always having to qualify myself. I don't want to have to do that, but now we're back to that again.
Yeah.
We're training people on how to behave.
And so the publicist did not work out. No, it did not.
But I handled it, I handled it. You have to not be comfortable when things aren't going on the right track. You have to be comfortable saying, hey, this is what I see. Can we pick it up here? Hey, this should not be going this way. Let's retool this.
Yeah.
Because this isn't working. The way this is moving is not working. So, it's okay. Like reminding us that it's okay to, with grace, correct course.
Yeah. So tell me about Sand and Shores, because you said you're in the PR world yourself. How did you start up your company and get to where you are now?
So with all of my marketing background and PR work, came out here to Southern California about 7 years ago. Well, I came back. I went to Northridge, went to the Bay Area and came back. I was with Southland Publishing. So they are in the west side of LA. And it was a great experience, did some writing, did a lot of advertising work, some great creative work with the businesses out there. They weren't using technology the way that Silicon Beach should be using technology. And I had the opportunity to start my own magazine. So I started a real estate agent magazine out in Redondo Beach, Hermosa, Manhattan Beach area. It was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity, but that's when I started to get to know this community. And I just formed my LLC and decided this is what I'm going to do. My advertising clients needed more than advertising, right? They need it. And most people do. They just don't recognize how public relations plays a part in their business growth.
Yeah.
Even if it's DIY, even if it's you just learning how to tell your story, even if it's you just figuring out who your target market is, like all of those things are hugely important.
Absolutely.
And what I recognized is that many of these entrepreneurs, real estate agents, service-based businesses just didn't know how to tell their story.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to get it out there. And then there was some basic principles of business that they just didn't recognize, like, oh, well, I did this one ad. Okay, but it takes 7 times. So being able to educate people on it takes 7 times for somebody to see your name. It takes 7 times for them to hear your message before they take action. Even being able to teach that for me was important. So Sand and Shores is really here to help small businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, law enforcement, and community organizations, civic organizations tell their story. Most of the time it's to a community that they serve, but they still don't always understand how to tell the people that they serve how they are servicing them.
Right.
They're supposed to know. They should.
Yeah, they should just know.
They should just know. And I think people get confused. They think, okay, well, this is where I am. This is what I do. And people know that.
And,
so,
they wouldn't even put it out on their Facebook page. It's like, oh no, that's my personal page. I don't have to. That's my personal profile. I'm not going to tell people what I do over there.
I'm like, okay, so you don't want them to know, like, and trust you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing right now? So, being able to do that and help businesses with, media outreach, and how do you do that? How do you get in newspapers? I did it so long just based on the fact that I was working for nonprofits, and, they don't have a marketing budget most of the time. So they have to learn how to be creative and get coverage and build brand awareness without spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
So for those organizations that don't usually have a lot to spend, I help them do that. It has been a pleasure to do that. I've had some great interns. I continue to do the leadership work, and my philosophy for the work that I do is leadership is newsworthy, right? So people think it's just, glitz and glamour and 24 hours to fame. Yeah. Real, authentic, long-term, newsworthy people have great leadership skills.
That is
big. Acknowledge that, and they can see that pattern, then it makes sense. It makes sense to learn how to step into your leadership. It makes sense to lean into your strengths to show how you set yourself apart. That's leadership. And I don't know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know anybody that's newsworthy that hasn't set themselves apart in their genre or in their lane.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at it like that, so if you look at it like that, and those people that are looking for news coverage, let's talk about how you can express your leadership, your thought leadership. Yeah. How do you set yourself apart? And focusing on those things makes it easier to get the news coverage or the media coverage that they're looking for.
I love that. Leadership is newsworthy. Yeah, it sure is. And how were you then, how did you set your sights on really working with the police and law enforcement? Was that something that was in your background, or you just again, saw a need, oh my God, they need help?
Couple things. Based on my experience with law enforcement, having to be involved in law enforcement at such a young age, spending time in a federal witness protection program and going through that legal process along with other legal processes, throughout my upbringing. I was involved in over 100 police calls or incidents by the time I was 18. Wow. None of my own doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's in this moment, it's hard to say this. I never witnessed any police brutality, even though there were moments I wish there had been. So understanding and trying to understand how we get to a place that we are right now, where everything seems to be some kind of mismanagement of justice. Again, I'm a habitual complainer. If I don't like what I see, I want to understand it and I want to get involved, because that's the only way that I'll be able to explain it to my kids or make it make sense to me.
Right.
I want a upfront, up close conversation and view. And most of my work is done for people that need to elevate their voices. And sometimes I do think there are situations where the voice needs to be elevated.
Yeah.
We've left some voices out of certain things. So even recently, with all of the things that had been going on, I had a panel for all African-American police officers, because that's a voice that was not being elevated.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So having an understanding of where these kind of conversations go left, particularly in community-based, service-based organizations, it made me want to dig in and get underneath, how I could feel so much good and protection. I had to call the police as a kid. I have a story in the book about hiding under the bed with the phone, calling when we had the dial up, pressing 0 all the way around.
All the way around, have it coming all the way around.
Pre 911, right? So, I grew up feeling safe, feeling like that's who I need to call. And I'm in my 40s now, and sometimes I'm like,
do I call him?
Right. Do I want to risk it? Because this could go left and I don't know how it's going and I don't want to be my fault.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah.
So,
like,
I know
what happened?
What did happen there?
What did happen? And that is really a sad situation when you have to think twice about calling the police for help, because that is the one place that we grew up knowing you need help, you call the police.
Not just that, listen to this. I always tell, I even talk to, the officers that I work with. I say, you think about it when you were a kid and all the kids wanted to be
firemen, police officers,
and doctors. That's it. By the time they're in high school, they don't even want to see y'all.
Yeah.
What happened? That we need to talk about that period of time where that starts to split off. Now, if we can identify the problem, now let's go in and see if we can, surgically carve out this fungus that seems that's deteriorating something that as a kid we held dear. We were like, that's it.
That's who we trust.
That's it. I'm calling him.
Trust the police and Jesus.
So, trying to understand that dynamic was important for me. I am the type of person now, especially recognizing what I have been through. I used to be scared of snakes. So I went and got a snake and I raised it from a baby up. Because I decided, when there's a problem, I'm about to find out why there is a problem. Where did that come from? Like, where did that originate?
Yeah, you tackle it head on.
Head on.
I
mean, there's no other way.
Yeah. You don't skirt around and like look at it sideways.
Look, I got no time for that. I don't know how long
I got time for that. I got 4 kids. I don't have time for that. So I am curious about witness protection, because you were in the witness protection program. I always want to know how that worked and is it just for a period of time until you testify? Is it like you have to go away for a longer period? Like how does that? So
for us, if you don't mind me being transparent.
Of course not. As much as you want to be, you're free to be.
So after my mother had been shot and taken away by the ambulance, I did not see her for a while. I did not see her. I didn't even know she was still alive.
Wow.
And
how old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
5, 4.5, 5. And they just sent me back to school. I went to school the next day. I just went to school. And I was at my grandmother's house because we had been living at my grandmother's house back and forth. And I just went to school. She took me to school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that went on for a while. And I was at school one day and there were some men that came in suits and they just took me and said, we need to take you somewhere. And I went and got on a plane. They loaded me, took me to San Jose airport and loaded me right in the plane. And I got to sit next to my mom. I hadn't seen her in, I don't even know how long it was. We flew off that night. That was the first time I had ever had a night flight. And I got to see all the, all the lights. Yeah, when they light up the runway, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And we were in a hotel for months. And
Wow.
I just remember we would go to dinner and the men in the suits were there with us. Thought it was the weirdest thing.
Wow.
And we stayed there quite a while. And the way that I understand it, when I started researching for the book, is that we do stay there until the trial is over. But with that case, I think there were others that they were either looking for and wasn't sure if he had other accomplices on the outside. So I think we stayed there
a little bit
lot
longer
longer.
just to make sure.
Yeah. So you stay until, and we got dropped off one day back in San Jose at my grandmother's house.
Do you get any kind of compensation for the lost time or anything?
Now there is money for that. There's funding for that. Victim services helped me out a lot. So once I got older and started recognizing, I talked to my mom about it and what had gone on. And then I registered with victim services because I was concerned about him getting out. That was always my question. Right. Some weird things had happened while he was still in, but I was a witness. I always wondered why I was still there. He left me as a witness. And so, knowing when he was getting out started to bother me. That was in college. So I actually spent my college years, writing letters to keep him in. They would contact me when it was time for him to go up for parole or see if he was going to get out. I would have to write a letter or do a video and send to the courts. So I spent my college years trying to keep him in prison.
Wow. Wow.
But you do register for victim services. Actually, right before COVID happened, I was supposed to go to LA County is, promoting the use of victim services. And I'm a test case, they were great. They were always there. They always kept me up to date about what's going on. And I, that's one of those things that I speak on all the time. One of the reasons I love being involved with law enforcement is because it gives me the opportunity to let people know, yeah, it might be a little scary to testify or to tell or to, report that domestic violence, but it's not like it used to be. It's even better, right? So I started almost 20 years ago using victim services and they've improved. And now you can actually apply to get compensation for that. And sometimes I think there's the victims, the perpetrators have to pay. So there's so much more than there was before. Even with domestic violence departments at stations, some of them now have emotional support that they bring for the kids. And when I was growing up, they didn't have that.
You didn't have that. Well, you said you went back to school the next day. There was no.
Not only that, but I spent, there's been a lot of domestic violence in our family, and spent a lot of time watching that happen. The police would come out, they ask the adults what they want to do, and then they leave. They never ask the kids nothing. Like, are you all right? Da da da. How are you doing? Did somebody hurt you? Now they bring out the care dogs and the care unit, and now we're working on bringing out counselors. But those are things that they didn't do before. So even watching up close and personal the evolution of law enforcement and how it helps.
Yeah, it does. That's amazing. That's wonderful. And I'm so thankful for you sharing that, piece of your life and how that worked, because I had always wondered about it myself. And to hear that there is that evolution and that they are seeing the family unit more. And how do we take care of the family in this situation, not just the adults, listen to the adults, but let's see what's happening. Because like you said, there's something that fractures with kids as they get older and they no longer trust the police, or they no longer want to be police. Like, what is happening in there? And that might also be part of it, that the mess that they would see police come and then leave and never interact with them, feeling like, you know, I'm a part of this too. Why didn't you help me? You know, you helped them, you didn't help me. So that's amazing. Now, I do want to ask, I know our time is like running short, but I wanted to ask, because you have 4 wonderful children, I'm sure they are amazing because you are an amazing person. So you must be an amazing mom. What messages do you give them about leadership and their own confidence, like stepping into who they are and being confident with that?
One is you don't quit. Any commitment you make, you push through it. If you don't know how to do it, you figure it out or you ask someone. Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to do it, please ask someone.
That's a repeatable. You have to keep repeating that to them.
Especially with men and boys. Did I say men and boys? Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to be vulnerable and say, I don't know. Ask. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. How many boys do you have?
3.
3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you know what it smells like.
Oh, yeah.
The girl, she's the baby twin. She came 2 hours later.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. 2 hours. That was a whole other labor. That was labor and then more labor.
And they came 2 different ways.
So one was natural, one was C. Oh, wow. Oh, that's why it was the last. It's like, this is not happening ever again.
I was like, I will sue somebody. So you better fix it.
You fix it.
I always say, fix it, Jesus.
Wow. So you are an amazing woman. Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask for help before we get off the rails. If you made a commitment,
don't get off the rails.
Don't stick to your commitments.
Hold on tight.
For help. Anything else?
Trust us. We got your back.
Yeah.
And particularly for me, that's important to know. You know, my aunt was with me one day and she said, she was like, you're so responsive to them. I was like, as opposed to ignoring them. What am I supposed to do? And I treat them the same way that I want to be treated. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm gonna respond. I'm not gonna ignore you.
Right.
If you ignore me, we got a problem.
Right. It amazes me because it's just a different generation. You know, they didn't have the technology that we have now either to be in communication. You know, you would leave home somewhere around 10 in the morning if it's not school, if it's summertime, and you won't come back till lights, you know, the street lights come on.
Right.
And they had no idea where you were all day, and they didn't care where you were all day because it was a safer kind of community to be in and play, and you're playing with other kids and that kind of stuff. We don't live in that same
lemongrass and anything you pick off a tree,
you
anything.
Can stick it in your mouth. Yeah. You know, you could climb over a neighbor's fence, pick fruit off the tree. Mm-hmm. It's a different time and season that we're living in. So they always try to put their upbringing and the things that they know about upbringing into this time and space, and it just is not the same.
Not at all.
Doesn't translate
at all.
At all. Right. So yeah, I am responsive to my children. You need to be responsive to them, and because they don't reach out to you for frivolous things. Right. Children, you know, when you raise them in a particular way, they don't just Do you like the color of my shirt? No.
Mine definitely ain't asking me that.
They're not asking you that, So yeah, so they're asking things that matter. So yeah, I appreciate that. So those are great. Anything that I needed to ask you about leadership or confidence that you'd like to share that I didn't ask you?
No, I think we really got it. I think my biggest guidance, my biggest piece of guidance for anybody in regards to leadership is be honest, right? Be honest about your experience, be honest about your abilities, be honest about what the problem is. Don't be afraid of the problem because you're scared of the work to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important that we are honest. Be honest about your capabilities. If you can't do it, if you don't think you have enough time to do it, if you feel like you can help with it.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest is sets you apart these days.
It does.
Because there's so much fear about what people might think. There's so much laziness. No, there's, being honest is going to take you a lot further than trying to be who people think you should be.
Thank you for saying that, because the other part of that too is there's opportunity to get help where you may not be able to do certain things. There's opportunity to find the resource to help you instead of you floundering and trying to do something and frustrating yourself and it taking longer than necessary, instead of just stepping out and saying, you know what, I need some help with this. Or
going backwards, because if you mess something up, it's going to
start all over again. Because we are all human. And so don't underestimate or don't negate our humanity in dealing with something. We're not robots. You don't just program us and go. And and that's what I really appreciate with this kind of season of leadership, that there is a transition happening where people are not afraid to be vulnerable, not afraid to ask for help, not afraid to embrace the team and not feel like I'm the leader, I should know this. But there may be someone on the team that knows more.
Yep.
Because that's their specialty.
The ability to show vulnerability and open yourself to more knowledge, right? Because when you act like you know everything, or you're afraid to say, you're never going to learn that new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if
trust too with teammates, because now they know that you're open enough to trust them to come to help with the situation. Yeah.
So that's really my biggest takeaway in regards to leadership, is learning how to be honest and communicate what you need to complete the project, or to be okay, or to move it forward, or whatever, raise the money. You got to be honest.
Yeah. Love it. Well, I thank you so much for spending some time with me today on Leading with Audacious Confidence, because you are someone who embodies audaciousness, and you're not afraid to tackle things head on, which I love. And I knew after just hearing you speak that I definitely wanted to share this platform, this moment with you, so that my desire is that the audience enjoyed this as much as I did, and they got as much takeaway from it as I did. And let me know if ever you want to do it again. I'm open. Thank you so much.
I might need to borrow you though, because you are pretty audacious yourself, Lady in Red.
Thank you. I do try. Anytime.
I love it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Audacious Confidence. And don't forget to be bold, be brave, step out and lead with audacious confidence. Until next time, this is Alicia Couri signing off, and I will see you next time. All right, bye. Audacious confidence is the unshakable belief in yourself that's so brave and so bold that you step into what's possible despite your feelings, fears, or failures. I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this out with your friends. To check out more episodes of this podcast, visit our blog, aliciacouri.com/podcast. This is Alicia Couri inviting you to lead your life, your teams, and your organization with audacious confidence. Until next time.